718 Boxster is the new name for the Porsche Boxster, a mid-engined two-seat roadster that rivals the Mercedes-Benz SLC, BMW Z4 and Jaguar F-Type V6 models. Despite first impressions, this not a midlife refresh. Porsche claims only the luggage compartment lids, windscreen and convertible roof carry over from the outgoing Boxster. There are chassis changes, new body panels and an updated interior with a much improved touchscreen infotainment system, but the big news relates to the engines. Boxster loses 2 cylinders, gains a turbo outgo the old 2.7 Boxster and 3.4-liter Boxster S flat 6-cylinder motors, replaced by a pair of flat 4 turbos mounted behind the driver. The Boxster has never had anything but 6-cylinder power since its introduction 20 years ago, so Porsche is dusting off its historically important 718 naming to legitimize the new engines. It references a 4-cylinder roadster that raced with success in the 1950s and 60s. The entry-level 718 Boxster uses a 2.0-liter flat 4 with 295 bhp, while the 718 Boxster S steps up to a 2.5-liter version rated at 345 bhp. Sadly, the Boxster has lost an integral part of its character along with those 2 extra cylinders. The exotic howl of the old engines, both closely related to the 911s, has disappeared, replaced by a deep burbly thrum that could be mistaken for a Subaru Impreza's, especially if you specify the optional sports exhaust. These are, however, technically impressive engines. Both are keen to rev, and the 718 Boxster S disguises turbo lag ably. They are also more powerful and efficient on paper than the larger 6-cylinder units. In real-world conditions, however, even engineers admit fuel economy is likely to be similar between the 2 generations. Classic Boxster driving dynamics remain despite our grumbles over the new engines. The Boxster continues to be the benchmark driver's car in this segment. Its steering is fast and precise, and the mid-engine chassis is both agile and incredibly forgiving. It feels far more exotic to drive than its relatively affordable price suggests. Both feel like performance cars, but the S is a very quick car. Both models are available with a beautifully tactile 6-speed manual transmission, or a dual-clutch PDK with paddle shifters on the steering wheel. The PDK offers faster gear shifts, but also improves fuel economy. Folding roof can be operated on the move, while some rivals favor a folding hardtop, literally a solid metal roof that folds away into the luggage compartment. Porsche has stuck with a fabric roof. It has the advantages of lowering and raising much faster, and of doing so while the vehicle is moving at speeds approaching 40 miles per hour, and unlike folding hardtops, the fabric roof does not eat into luggage space when stowed. It's a key tenet of this versatile sports car's enduring appeal. We tested both the Porsche 718 Boxster and S models on the press launch in Portugal. There's more to the Porsche 718 Boxster than a name harking back to a 1950s racer from the firm's back catalog. In case you're wondering, Porsche protocol is to say 718. Look closely and you'll spot the refreshed bodywork and spangly, new LED lights, but even more important is what you can't see. Hidden at the 718 Boxster's heart is a pair of new 4-cylinder, turbocharged engines. Not that such an overhaul means Porsche's got the premium roadster market all to itself. There's the recently facelifted Mercedes-Benz S-Class, stylish Audi TT Roadster, and the big-engined Jaguar F-Type convertible to contend with. Turbocharging for torque and efficiency downsizing's a trend across the motor industry, so it's no surprise that even mighty Porsche has succumbed to smaller capacity engines. We've already seen a turbocharged 3-liter installed in the rear of the Porsche 911 Carrera, where a naturally aspirated once 3.8 resided. With the 718 Boxster, the changes are even more dramatic. Outgo the previous 2.7 and 3.4-liter units of the Boxster and Boxster S, replaced by turbocharged, horizontally opposed 4-cylinder power plants and 2 and 2.5-liter guises, respectively. Both engines have gained an additional 34 bhp over their predecessors, With the standard 718 Boxster up to 296 bhp, the faster S version producing 345 bhp. Even more impressive is the torque output. Not only do the figures rise by 100 Nm to 380 Nm from 1950 revolutions per minute for the 718 Boxster and 60 Nm to 420 Nm at 1900 revolutions per minute for the S, turbocharging, with variable geometry on the S, ensures its delivery is more linear through to 4500 revolutions per minute, making the engines far more flexible. Nevertheless, Porsche's worked hard to ensure the engines will still gleefully rev up to 7,500 revolutions per minute and have been tuned to sound suitably throaty, particularly with the optional sports exhaust package. Specify the 718 with the optional sports chrono package and PDK automatic gearbox, as Porsche expects most customers to do, and both versions are riotously rapid. While the 718 Boxster S will reach 177 miles per hour and cover the 062 miles per hour sprint in 4.2 seconds, its less expensive sibling will still touch 170 miles per hour and hit 62 miles per hour from a standstill in 4.7 seconds. That's a tenth of a second quicker than the outgoing Boxster S. In spite of that accelerative urgency, Porsche's engineers have also been keen to improve the 718 Boxster's efficiency, with a claimed average fuel consumption of 40.9 miles per gallon and 38.7 miles per gallon for the S. Emissions are rated at between 158 gkm and 184 gkm of CO2, depending on the engine and gearbox combination. Revised 718 Boxster styling a casual glance may suggest otherwise, but all the 718 Boxster's exterior is new save for the fabric roof and bootlid. More pronounced edges on the front and rear wings make them appear taller and broader, a theme emphasized a tad heavy-handedly at the back. The revised taillights no longer blend seamlessly into the rear spoiler, instead a gloss black applique with a 3D Porsche script nestles below the electrically operated wing. Thankfully, the modified diffuser below it is more pleasing. Up front, Porsche's 4-point day running light signature is now incorporated within the headlamps, while the grilles in the front bumper have been widened. Climb into the 718 Boxster's super bully-built cabin and there are even fewer tweaks to distinguish the latest iteration. Most obvious alterations center upon the revised infotainment system and ovular air vents. Keener pilots may splash out extra on the smaller 360mm diameter steering wheel, previously seen on the Boxster Spider. Substantial chassis modifications underneath the sharpened exterior. The Porsche 718 Boxster's undergone an extensive overhaul with improvements to the suspension, steering and brakes. At the rear is an additional brace to improve the suspension's rigidity, making the 718 even more predictable at the limit. This can be further enhanced with Porsche Active Suspension Management PASM, which is 10 mm lower than standard, a new 20 mm lower option with the Boxster S's sports chassis. Assisting with transmitting that additional power and torque to the road, the 718's optional 20-inch wheels are now 10.5 inches wide at the back. As with the latest 911 series, the 718 Boxster's Sport Chrono control moves from behind the gear lever to a rotary dial mounted on the steering wheel. Porsche claims to have introduced a greater degree of differentiation between the modes, something we'll explore further when we road test the newcomer. Porsche's fitted the 911 Turbo's electrically assisted steering setup to the 718 Boxster, making it 10% more agile but also claimed to be lighter while operating at lower speeds. This is further supplemented by a torque vectoring system which not only modulates the degree of power sent to the grippiest wheel but will introduce a degree of supplementary braking to amplify the effect. To cope with the extra speed, Porsche's uprated the 718's braking performance. As standard, the Boxster gains the previous S's brakes, while the new S adopts the 4-piston calipers from the 911 Carrera. 6-piston carbon ceramic brakes remain an expensive option. When can you buy one? You can already order a 718 Boxster with deliveries expected from late April 2016 onwards. We'll be putting this faster and more fuel-efficient sports car to the test in a few weeks when we discover if the new Porsche 718 Boxster will still lead the roadster market. Out with the old six-cylinder engines and in with turbocharged 4s, the Porsche Boxster has downsized to offer more power and fuel economy at the expense of oral drama. Petrol engines only. There's no diesel option here. For that you'll want a Mercedes-Benz SLC, so your choice is restricted to petrol only. The 718 Boxster's 2-liter turbocharged engine produces 295 bhp and accelerates from 0-62 miles per hour in 4.9 seconds, while the S increases capacity to 2.5 liters for 345 bhp and a 4.4 seconds 0-62 miles per hour time. Helping shift the S down the road is variable turbine geometry borrowed from the 911 Turbo, making turbo lag a lack of power at low revs a thing of the past. The entry-level 718 lacks this and is notably less responsive. Both models rev keenly to a very sports car-like 7,500 revolutions per minute, an unusually high figure for turbocharged engines. They also offer much more flexibility lower down in the rev range. You don't feel the same urge to drop a gear on a motorway slip road, for instance, and the new car feels more urgent if you prod the accelerator at a low-speed cruise. However, neither engine offers the old six-cylinder model's charismatic yowl. The burbly thrum sounds like a Subaru Impreza, which uses a similar type of boxer engine, where the cylinders lie flat horizontally opposed. Manual and automatic gearbox options both can be equipped with a 6-speed manual or optional PDK dual-clutch automatic transmission. The manual gearbox is a tactile delight and offers enthusiastic drivers a bit more interaction with the 718 Boxster's drivetrain. You can leave the PDK gearbox in automatic, or control it manually via paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. It's smooth around town, but the changes are fast and direct at higher speed. Despite its agility and power, the 718 Boxster is not intimidating to drive. The stability control is rarely needed, but quickly corrects mistakes if you overstep the mark. The 718 is really made for twists and turns. It's exceptionally agile, sure-footed and a thrill to drive, a best-in-class performance. You can choose between standard suspension, or either 10mm or 20mm lowered springs with adjustable shock absorbers. Press a button and the ride becomes firmer for spirited drives. New for the 718 Boxster is a 10% faster steering ratio borrowed from the 911 Turbo. This means small turns of the steering wheel result in large changes to the steering angle. It's fast, accurate and nicely weighted. When you're in town, that same steering is relatively light, and combined with good forward visibility makes the Boxster an easy car to drive around urban areas. The optional reversing camera isn't essential, but a big help for parking. The new touchscreen infotainment system is a big improvement over its predecessor. It's largely easy to use, though BMW and Mercedes systems are more intuitive still. You can display the optional VIN dial next to the rev counter too, making it easier to follow directions at a glance. Fit and finish in the Boxster's cabin are superb, with materials and design that would look equally at home in a 911. Ride quality in the 718 Boxster is relatively firm, but comfort remains more than acceptable on both the optional suspension setup Sweet Ride, even with the largest 20-inch alloys. Finding the perfect low-slung driving position is easy, and the leather sports seats combine comfort with good lateral support. The electrically operated fabric roof opens or closes in under 10 seconds and at speeds approaching 40 miles per hour. While rivals with folding hardtops Merc SLC BMW Z4 must be stationary. With the roof up, exterior noise is well suppressed. Even with the roof down, you are well protected from wind buffeting. There's not a lot to go around here in terms of standard equipment, but as you would expect from Porsche, absolutely loads of options. Standard Porsche 718 Boxster equipment. The headline feature here is the newly updated and much-needed Porsche communication management system, now displayed on a touchscreen with smartphone connectivity included. You also get xenon headlights with integrated LED daytime running lights, LED rear lights and 4-point brake lights. The 718 Boxster S gets new 19-inch wheels and the Porsche Vehicle Tracking System Plus as standard. Pick a PDK gearbox and it now features fuel-saving virtual gears previously introduced on the 911 model series. Optional Porsche 718 Boxster accessories as well as sat-nav, LED headlights and larger 20-inch wheels. You can also pick different modules for the infotainment system. Connect Plus provides online navigation services and enhanced online audio features, while the Sound Package Plus adds 110 watts of audio power. Driver upgrades include the adaptive Porsche Active Suspension Management System PASM with a 10mm lower ride height. Plus there's a PASM Sport chassis with a 20mm lower ride height for the 718 Boxster S. The Sport Chrono package now comes with an individual program in addition to the normal, Sport and Sport Plus settings. In combination with the PDK automatic box, the Sport Response button primes the car for maximum responsiveness for 20 seconds. The previous Boxster was not crash tested by Euro NCAP and there's no rating for this one either. However, the body is very strong and it benefits from driver, passenger, side and head airbags. The comprehensive Porsche Stability Management System keeps things pointed down the road too. You don't get a huge amount of cabin stowage space but the Boxster makes up for it with luggage capacity. Due to the engine's location behind the driver, mounted in the middle of the car, you effectively get two boots. Under the front bonnet where the engine would normally go is 150 liters of space, and there's another 125 liters in the boot. What's more, unlike some convertibles, luggage space remains unchanged whether the roof is up or down. There's also the trademark twin cup holder arrangement that springs out from a slot above the glove box.